The first time the billionaire's daughter stood on her own, it wasn't inside a marble hospital wing or beneath the glow of expensive machines, but on a stained concrete floor where oil marks told stories of broken engines and second chances, and the sound that filled the air was not applause but a sharp, trembling breath held by a mother who had almost forgotten how hope felt. The girl's legs shook like leaves in a storm, her small hands clenched around a metal frame built from scrap, and a mechanic with worn hands and tired eyes stood close enough to catch her if she fell, knowing that one wrong move could shatter more than balance. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and quiet miracles that come from ordinary people, please like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel, The Thread of Kindness, to keep these stories alive. The mechanic had spent his life fixing what others gave up on: cars that had been declared dead, machines written off as useless, and sometimes people who walked into his garage with heavier burdens than broken engines. He had never planned to meet a billionaire, and certainly not her daughter, whose legs had refused to carry her since childhood. The girl had grown up surrounded by wealth, private doctors, and polished promises that always ended the same way, with polite smiles and carefully worded explanations about limitations that could not be crossed. Her mother had listened to those words for years, watching her daughter learn to sit quietly when other children ran, watching her eyes follow movement she could not join. Money had bought comfort, education, and protection, but it had not bought progress, and that truth weighed on the mother more heavily than any public responsibility she carried. The day they arrived at the garage was not born of confidence but desperation. A referral from a distant cousin, a whispered story about a man who built things that should not work, who understood mechanics the way some people understood hearts. The mother had lowered her expectations the moment she stepped inside, embarrassed by the chipped paint and cluttered shelves, certain this was another wrong turn fueled by exhaustion. But the mechanic did not see a billionaire or a disabled child when he looked at them. He saw a body that needed support, movement that needed patience, and a mind that needed belief. He listened more than he spoke, studied the girl's posture, the tension in her hips, the way her feet touched the ground, and the fear hidden behind her quiet determination. What followed was not magic, but months of struggle disguised as routine. The mechanic worked late into the night after closing his shop, shaping metal, adjusting joints, building a walking frame that responded to the girl's specific needs instead of forcing her body to adapt. He tested springs with the same care he used on engines, recalibrated angles, and softened edges so they would not hurt her skin. The girl came every week, her arms growing stronger, her confidence inching forward even when her legs refused to cooperate. Some days she left smiling, some days she left in tears, and every setback felt heavier because hope had already been invited into the room. The mother watched from the sidelines, torn between gratitude and fear. She had learned to protect herself by expecting disappointment, by assuming that effort would once again end in sympathy rather than change. Yet something about the mechanic's quiet consistency unsettled her. He never promised miracles, never asked for payment beyond what felt fair, and never treated her daughter like a problem to be solved. He treated her like a person learning something difficult. That difference mattered more than the equipment itself, because it gave the girl permission to believe in herself without shame. The turning point came on a day that felt no different from the others until it suddenly was. The mechanic made a final adjustment to the frame, tightened one last bolt, and guided the girl into position. Her hands trembled, her shoulders tensed, and her breath came fast as her feet pressed into the floor. The first attempt failed, her knees buckling as fear rushed in, but she did not cry. She tried again, drawing strength from weeks of effort, from scraped palms and sore muscles, from the mechanic's steady presence beside her. Slowly, impossibly, she straightened, the frame holding where her body could not, her legs bearing weight they had never carried before. The mother felt the world narrow to that moment. Years of hospital corridors, specialist offices, and silent nights collapsed into a single image of her daughter standing, not supported by pity or propped up by false hope, but upright through patience and belief. Tears came without warning, not loud or dramatic, but heavy with everything she had held back. She covered her mouth, afraid to breathe too hard, afraid that sound might break the spell as her daughter took a careful step forward. Then another. Each movement was slow, uneven, and perfect. The mechanic did not celebrate. He simply stayed close, hands ready, eyes calm, understanding that dignity mattered as much as success. The girl's smile was small at first, then radiant, as realization dawned that she was moving through space in a way she never had. The frame was not a cure, and the journey ahead would still be long, but something fundamental had shifted. Possibility had entered her life not as a promise, but as proof. News of the moment